Hi, I'm Alexander Maxim from Ethiopian.io. Today we will continue our series about PHP. In this tutorial, we'll learn stuff in the systems that PHP offers. If you are in the local, you work on a management application, for example in your PC, and you want to use a system for storing your data. For that, we are going to think about databases. But with file management systems, PHP gives us another technique to quickly store our data without access to a DBMS. We can add, modify, and delete them through very simple and very efficient methods. Today, we will take four methods that are more used to manipulate the files, either .txt or another extension. We will learn the Fopen, Fread, Fwrite, and finally the file getContent method with necessary parameters. Let's start with the Fopen method. What's the Fopen method? PHP to process a file and to say that this file can be processed is to use Fopen. Fopen will open the file for both noun read and write operations. It has two parameters. The first parameter can be the name of the file itself or a path to the file itself. The second is the opening mode. The opening mode specifically defines file access. The operating system needs to know what you want to do with the file once it's open. It's from there that it can specify the accesses in writing, reading, etc. In other words, it allows it to know, on the one hand, if you have the required permissions to manipulate the file in this mode. On the other hand, if the file can be opened by another script once you open it. To indicate how to open the file, we use the letter and put it as a second argument to the Fopen function. We therefore have several possibilities. You can open the file as read only, write only, read and write. To write in the file, you can either overwrite the contents of the file with the new or keep the existing content and add the new data to it. The operating systems use different characters for new lines. When you write a text file and insert a new line, you must use the correct character for your operating system. For example, in Unix systems, use the /n as a new line. For Windows systems, use /r/n for new lines, and for the Macintosh, use the /r. So we have the Fopen method. It has two parameters, the file name and the opening mode. The file name or the path of the file itself. So we have the PHP to process a file and to say that this file that we have passed as parameter can be processed is to use Fopen. It will open the file for both noun read and write operations. So the file will be ready to write in the file and to read from the file, and it returns a resource representing the file pointer or false if an error occurs. If the opening fails, a warning will be generated. So the file will be, as we said, ready for writing and for reading. This is the Fopen method. After that, we have the Fread method. What's the Fread method? The Fread reads up to the value of parameter length in the file referenced by the first handle parameter. We can use the variable that we have used to open the file. It stops when one of the following conditions appears. The value of parameter length have been read, or we can say the size of the file, or the end of the file is reached. A packet becomes available, or the socket timeout time is passed. It can be used effectively if we can read the complete file. But sometimes we need to read the file line by line, for example, or character by character, and for that we will not use the Fread function, but we will use other functions like, for example, fgets. So we have used the fopen to handle the file, and the file to be handled. Then we will pass this file as parameter to the fread method, and we will pass the length that we want to read from the file. So this is the file. The size of the file, for example, 32 bytes. This is our file. The length of the sentence, hi, how are you, is 10 bytes. The length of the sentence today we will take is also 10 bytes, and the fread to read a file is 12 bytes. So I need, for example, to read just 10 bytes from this file passed as parameter. But firstly, we need to use the opening mode, which is for reading only. We will explain the opening mode in the example. So I will pass the length, for example, 10 bytes. Then I will use echo the result returned from the fread function, and it will display in the browser the result returned from the fread function, or this sentence that we have in our file or in the file passed as parameter. After that, we have the Fwrite function or file write. What's the file write function or Fwrite? To write in a file, you must use one of the functions of PHP, and for that we will use the function Fwrite. That's a very important function and easy to handle. This function makes it possible to write the contents in the file passed as parameter. It contains 3 parameters. The first parameter is the handle, is a resource file system pointer that is usually created using the fopen function. The second parameter is the string, which is the content to write in the file, and the third parameter is the length. If the length is supplied, the writing will stop after length bytes or at the end of the string. It will return the number of bytes written or false if an error occurs. On systems that differentiate between binaries and text files, the file must be opened with the B option included in the fopen mode parameter. Let's explain the Fwrite method. So always we will use fopen to open the file in reading or writing mode. So we will use the file name and the opening mode for write or read. This is the file with the pointer returned to the Fwrite method to use the file. And we will use the string, for example, hi, how are you? We will pass it to the Fwrite function, and the size, for example, I need to write just 10 bytes from this string, and this is, for example, the 10 bytes from this string, hi, how. This is our new file. So this is the file returned. If we use all the length of the string, the file size will be the length of the string, and the file will contain all the string passed as parameter. After that, we have the file get contents function. To read a file or to obtain the contents of a file, we will use the function file get contents. This function will return the data read in a string of character or false if an error occurs. This function can return false, but it can also return a value equivalent to false. It has 5 parameters. The first parameter is the file name. The second parameter is the include path. The constant file using include path can be used to trigger the search in the inclusion path. The third is the context, is obtained from the string context create function. If you don't need to use a particular context, you can ignore this parameter by assigning the null value. The fourth parameter is the offset, which is the position from which one starts reading the file. And the fifth parameter is the max length, which is the maximum size of the data to read. The default behavior is to read to the end of the file. The function will return an error if the file name is incorrect or max length is less than 0. Let's explain it. So we have the file get contents. We will use the file name as first parameter, the include path, the context, the offset, and the max length. So from the file I will return a string using the file get contents, and I will use echo to print this string in the browser. So when we use, for example, the file get contents to this file which contains hi, how are you, this is the file get contents. So when we pass the file as parameter and the null for the two include path and context parameters, for the offset is 6, or the position that you will start reading. So the position is 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And here the position is 6. This is the offset. And we will read for max length, which is 5 letters or 5 bytes. And the string will return RU. So when we use echo, we will get RU in the browser. This is the file get contents. So it will read from the file with these conditions here passed as parameter. Now let's use an example to understand the fopen, fread, fwrite, and file get contents function. And for that, we will open the page r40.php. Then I will use fopen firstly to open the file which is test.txt, and the opening mode which is, for example, R for read. I will make the result of fopen function in a variable named, for example, fopen also. So when we need to use the file or the handled file, we will use this variable at place of this function. Now let's use fread function, and I will pass the fopen file or the handled file and the length of the file that I want to read. I want to read all the file, and for that I will use a function which is file size. The file size function accepts the file name and returns the size of the file, and for that I will pass the file which is test.txt, and I will copy this function and paste it here in the fread function to get the size of the file that I want to read. And now let's store the returned value in a variable named fread, for example, and I will use echo to print the fread result. Let's reload and see the result, and the length parameter must be greater than 0 because we have nothing in the test.txt file. Let's say hello. Let's reload and see the results, and we have hello. Now let's learn the opening mode. Firstly, we have the R. The letter R opens for read only and place the file pointer at the beginning of the file. It means it will open this file for read only, and it will make the pointer at the beginning here of the file. This is what we have used here. So we have open the file for read only. If we write on the file fwrite, for example, it's the fwrite function, the file which is fopen and the string hi, for example, or hey. Let's reload and we have nothing. We have nothing in the test.txt file. But if we open the file with the r plus letter, this letter means that the fopen function will opens for reading and writing and place the file pointer at the beginning of the file. So always it will make the pointer at the beginning of the file, but the R will open the file for reading only for reading, because the R is the first letter of the read, and R plus will open for reading and also the plus, it means for writing also. Let's use it R plus, and let's comment the fread, and I will write hey in the test.txt file. Let's reload and see the results, and we have here in test.txt hey. Let's use, for example, here the letter A. Let's reload and see the result, and we have hey. Let's change it, for example, to hello from Utopian. And here I will use the same sentence, but also with, for example, the rest, like that. I will copy the same sentence here. I will change it with anything where, for example, a list of A. I will copy and make it here. Let's reload and see the results, and we have hello from Utopian, and here the rest, what we can understand from it. So using the mode R+, the pointer will be here. If we return, we will get that we have a list of A. This list has the same length of the sentence that I want to write in this file. So it will replace this list of A by this sentence that we want to write in this file, and keep the rest. But using the W, which is the first letter of the write, it will open the file for write only and place the file pointer at the beginning of the file, like the R mode, and reduce the file size to 0. If the file doesn't exist, it try to create it. What it means by reduce the file size to 0? So it will delete all the content in the test.txt file and write this string at place of all the content of the file. Let's change it to W and see the results. Let's open the test.txt, and we have hello from Utopian. Let's change it by anything. Let's save and reload, and we have hello from Utopian. Let's change it for example to, and here anything. Let's reload and see the results, and we have hello from Utopian too. So it will reduce the file size to 0. But using the R+, it will keep the rest. So we have hello from Utopian IO, and we have here the rest. It will keep this rest and change this sentence. This is the difference between the R+ and the W. The W+ is the same like R+. It will open the file in reading and writing. Place the file pointer at the beginning of the file, but it reduces the file size to 0. So for writing, by using the W+, it will reduce the file size to 0. Now let's delete the test.txt, and let's write using the W+ to see if the W+ mode will create this file or no. Let's reload and see, and it has created the file, and with the sentence or with the string that I have added here. So if I want to add something after hello from Utopian IO or anything here in the test.txt file, when I use the W or W+, it will delete all the content. And if we use the R+, for example, it will write, but it will write here before anything in the file. Now I have hello from Utopian 2, and I want to add something after this content or after the content of the file. For that, we use the A mode. The A mode opens write only, place the file pointer at the end of the file, contrary of the R and W. It will place the pointer at the end of the file. If the file doesn't exist, it tries to create it. And the A+ opens in reading and writing. Place the file pointer at the end of the file. If the file doesn't exist, it tries to create it. Let's now use the A to write only in the file, and I will use for example space, then Alexander, for example. Let's reload, and we have here hello from Utopian 2. Let's reload and see the results, and we have hello from Utopian 2, and after that Alexander. Let's for example use anything here, thank you or anything. Let's reload again and see the results, and we have hello from Ethiopian to Alexander, and the second Alexander, thank you. So we can add anything after the contents or after the original content of the test.txt file, and for that we need to use the A mode, A plus for read. Let's use it to read from the file, and let's reload and see, and we have hello from Ethiopian to Alexander, thank you. This is the A and A plus modes. After that we have the X and X plus. The X creates and opens the file for writing only, like W. Place the file pointer at the beginning of the file if the file already exists. The Fopen function will fail, returning false and generating a warning level error. So if we have the file, if we have test.txt file in our folder, it will return an error. The X plus creates and open the file for reading and writing. The behavior is the same as for X. Let's use for example X, and it will return an error. Let's reload and see, and we have a warning. Fail to open stream, file exists. Let's delete this file and reload and see the results, and we have nothing. So here we have the X mode or the Fopen method has created the test.txt file with Alexander, thank you. Now the example I want to do, we imagine that we are in a site in the local host, and I will store my new users. Usually we use the database, but today I will use a file.txt to store information and to retrieve them easily and quickly. So in the r4i.php I have a form with the action r4.php and the method post. I have the username and the password, so the user will enter the username and the password, and I will store these informations in r4.txt file. And for that I will get the value of the username and the password from the $_post array with the password and username keys. Because the method is post, I will get the username and the password. Then I will form a string with the username is the username and password is password, and then a new line. If the username is empty or password is empty, I will include r4i.php. Then I will use echo to print fopen. I will use the fopen function. I will store the result in the $fopen variable, and I will open the r4.txt file with the A plus mode. The A plus opens in reading and writing. Place the file pointer at the end of the file. If the file doesn't exist, try to create it. Then I will write the string that we have formed here in this file that we have opened with the A plus mode, and I will use echo. I have inserted this user. Then I will get the user using the file get contents, so I will just pass the r4.txt file to the file get contents method. Let's open the r4i.php file. I will enter AA and the password AA, for example, and I have inserted this user. If we open r4.txt, we have username AA and password AA. And using the file get contents, I have the username AA and password AA. Let's use, for example, a username Alexander and a password Maxim. And I have inserted the user. When we open R4, we have Alexander and the password is Maxim, and we have using the file get contents, we have the username and the password here, or we have all the content of the file here. So we can add, modify and delete from the file as in the database, and it's quickly and easy to handle. And for that, we can use in the local host the files at place of the database. Today we have learned the fopen, the fread, fwrite and file get contents methods.